YouTube, Instagram. We're broadcasting on both platforms right now. So I'm Andrew Beach, and I'm an executive career coach. I help professionals communicate their value to find great new jobs faster. So please tell me, can you hear me? Leave a comment. Where are you tuning in from? I'd like to know so that I can just kind of interact with you and see what sort of things that you would like to have answered. So I'm here to help you and to provide you support in your career transition or your professional promotion. Today, what we're going to be talking about is the number one question that I got was in relation to something that I would call networking related, meaning people are networking, they're getting out and meeting people, which is exciting, but they don't know what to do after the meeting. You have a great meeting with somebody and you network, you have a good dialogue, but for whatever reason, you don't know what to do. And that's okay. That's totally normal. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover the top 5 things and a bonus. So stick around for the bonus. We're going to cover the top 5 things that you can do after a meeting to actually keep in touch with your connections. Okay? So go ahead and leave. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me. If you can, that's great. If not, if you'd leave, let's see, a little deal. I got to get the levels up where they need to be. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to hop right into the communication, the slide deck, and then we'll go ahead and answer the questions at the end of the session. Stick around. There is a bonus technique post networking meeting that I'm going to share with you, so make sure you stay around for the whole thing, and then I'll actually have a special offering for a select few people, something about a curriculum that I'm delivering starting November 1st. So if you're interested in that, stick around. Okay. So I'm really interested in understanding how to stay in touch after a networking meeting. And so the number one thing I would think that you'd want to think about is updating. So updating just in general is a good idea. When I meet with somebody and they refer me to their friends or family and make a connection or introduction on my behalf, I want to know that that person actually did something with that connection. So be sure if somebody's giving you a referral, making an introduction, and putting their reputation on the line for you, be sure to follow up and say, hey, I reached out to this person. Here's what happened. And here was the result. I wanted to thank you for that introduction. That's going to be huge because most people I know have a lot of people in their network, and they're only giving you a very small fraction of those people in terms of their connection to you. Okay, so what you want to recognize is that they might be testing your professionalism. They may only give you 1 or 2 people because they want to see how you handle that interaction. Okay, so make sure you follow up on those referrals and provide feedback on what you learned, that you actually met, you did something with what they gave you, and what you're going to do next because of it. What I found is if you do that, they actually give you more names. So because you taught them something they learned, you handled it professionally, they give you more names. The second thing is just kind of a status update. So you may have been in a networking meeting, nothing really came out of it, it didn't feel right, but you want to keep that person posted on what's actually going on in your career transition or promotion. So one thing that works really well is just sending a note to each person personally. You're not going to have a huge list. You might, but it's not likely. So if there's 20 or 30 people, you might want to customize a portion of those messages to say, hey, Andrew, you know what? Here's where I'm at in my transition. I've met with these people. Here's what I've learned. My status is I've got 2 interviews this week. Just wanted to let you know I'm still in the hunt. These are the kind of opportunities I'm looking for. And then you move on. It doesn't have to be super long. It's just something that says, hey, thanks for taking time to meet with me. Here's what's happened since we last talked. And here's what's going on in my near future. Okay, so it's not very complicated. And what that does is a couple things. It provides you with a little more mind share, meaning, hey, this person after 2 or 3 weeks might have forgotten about you. Because you were just there 2 or 3 days later, they probably still remember you, but 2 or 3 weeks later, probably not going to remember you. So sending them just a quick update, letting them know what's going on is a good idea. Okay? So that's the second one, status report. First one, updates to referrals. Third one, Okay? Communicate gratitude. Now, when I meet somebody and they give me names or not, doesn't really matter. I follow up with them and say, thank you. I write them an email most often. Not as often, I write them a handwritten thank you note. You can't imagine how many times I've sent a handwritten thank you note and I go back to see that person again, and that note's like posted up on their wall or sitting on their desk. That thing hangs around. And it's because people are getting so little physical mail today that they don't even know what's going on. So, what I would suggest is send a handwritten thank you note in those cases where you think it's appropriate and where you feel like somebody would actually appreciate receiving a handwritten note. If you make it a standard practice, send it to everybody. Okay? But the idea here is to communicate the gratitude. Some people will appreciate that by email, but email is so easy to ignore and we get a lot of it. So it's become white noise. So it's funny how things come around full circle because you can now take a look at sending snail mail again, and it actually will stand out. So I encourage a lot of my clients, if they're making application, whether there's a posted position or not, with a resume cover letter, that if it's an important company and a solid contact inside that company, that they actually send that FedEx. Because how often does somebody nowadays get a personal FedEx to the office? Hardly ever. I mean, in my career, I can't even think of one. So if you sent something either Priority Mail, FedEx, or UPS in an envelope, so that it's like, hey, you got to sign for it, that makes a big difference. So that's a key differentiator. Send that note, send that private email, send that personal email, and just say, hey, thanks. And that doesn't have to just happen once. It can happen over and over again. So maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, you give them an update, you put a little gratitude in there, okay? Fourth one. I went to the fifth one. I showed the bonus on accident. Sorry about that. So you don't. Sometimes you get to the end of the meeting. Excuse me, I jumped two slots. Interact on social. Okay. So one thing you might want to consider is at the end of this meeting, even if you didn't get any traction or that maybe they didn't give you any referrals or, it just wasn't a comfortable meeting, just say, hey, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Would it be okay if I connected to you on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, whatever the social network is that you think is appropriate? Go ahead and connect with that person on that particular method, okay? Now, that's interacting on social. And you can do updates that way too. So the other ones apply as well. So maybe you send them an update message through the LinkedIn if that's their primary method of communication, okay? So interact on social, communicate gratitude, don't forget the status reports, and provide updates on any referrals and what you actually did with them, okay? So the last one is you don't. Sometimes you get to these meetings, people don't understand networking. They're not quite sure what to do with the interaction. It seems kind of unnatural the whole time you're there. And in that case, maybe you just don't want to follow up with that person. Not to say that you shouldn't, maybe you just don't. And so if it's one of those things where you don't have a lot of people to follow up with, maybe you do send them an occasional update and say, hey, here's the situation, and maybe something will come of that. You might have caught them on a bad day. Okay, that does happen. So in some cases you don't. Now, I said I would give you a bonus. And so here comes the bonus. You folks on YouTube probably saw it, but Instagram you didn't. I've been really advocating this idea of a top 12 list. And here's the reason. When you're working, it's very difficult to find margin in your day to interact and have networking conversations with people. I get it. I'm busy. I still make an effort to go out and meet people, and it's not always perfect. It's easier to talk about this stuff than to actually do it. I recognize that. But what I'm advocating for a lot of the people I know that are working, 40, 50 hour a week in a full-time job, that you have a top 12 list. What is the top 12 list? Well, it's a list you expand to 12 people that you feel are most influential in your career, that have provided you support, have been an advocate. Maybe somebody at a target company that you met at a Chamber of Commerce meeting. It's just really hard to know. But the idea is if you have 12 people on a list and you'll prioritize them based on how much you think they're going to influence your future, then I would say that breaks very nicely into a quarter. Quarter being 12 weeks. See what I'm talking about? One person every week for 12 weeks by having people, top 12 list. You might actually have 20 people on the list, but you're only actively incubating relationship with 12 people, giving them updates, letting them know what's going on, offering assistance and guidance or contribution. It's just being available, being present, and doing it in a deliberate way. Okay? So think about a top 12 list. Now, people retire, people move on, people leave the area. I get that. So you're going to want to continually add and remove and reprioritize that list. Okay? So let's review. Number one, updates on referrals. Make sure that you're getting back to people when they give you a referral to a contact that at a target company specifically, but any contact in general, and just say, hey, this is what happened. Here's what I did. I met that person or I didn't, just so that they have an update and then you can ask more advice on ways to get them re-engaged if you weren't able to connect. Okay. Number two, status reports. Just give an update. Number three, communicate gratitude. Number four, interact on social. And number five, maybe you just don't. You don't follow up with people because they don't get it. It's okay. It happens, even to the best of us. But you may have caught them on a bad day, so have some grace. And then the bonus, think about developing a top 12 list. Okay? So that's it for today on how to stay in touch after a networking meeting. Now, I wanted to go over the thing that I promised you, and that is the curriculum I'm rolling out November 1st. It's called 3 Steps to Career Success. This is an online learning program to identify 3 things. Number 1, who are you? We know in today's market, personal branding, professional branding is a big deal. You have to define who you are and be able to communicate that with clarity to other people so that they know what sandbox you play in. Okay? The second thing is, what do you want to do next? So through this curriculum, it's an interactive experience actually where I'm part of it. So you're not just getting online courses, you're getting an actual curriculum that includes a person. Okay? That's important to note. So what do you want to do next? That's you identifying target people and target companies, an audience or a marketplace that you want to approach. So define who you are and what you want to do next. The third component is how to meet the right people. We talked a little bit about that today in that you want to be out having conversations, dialogues with people. And so part of that is who do I talk to? What do I say? How do I say it? How do I follow up? How do I keep track? I mean, all these things will be covered, okay? There's so much to learn that it's really hard to know which thing is going to be most beneficial to you. So we're going to make you part of the process. And we really appreciate that if you go to our website, brandingdynamo.com, again, it's brandingdynamo.com, you can get on the list for 3 Steps to Career Success. And when that is introduced, I've written out the curriculum, have the outline done, and I'm going to start producing the content for it, at least the first lesson, or the first section, the next 2 sections. You get the part of being a part of that, okay? You get to be on the team that creates something unique, special, and you get lifetime access, okay? So go ahead and go to brandingdynamo.com and sign up to get on the list. And so that, let's hop on and see if there's any questions on the chat. Okay. All is quiet on YouTube. How about Instagram? Anybody in Instagram land have any questions for me? No? Okay. Happy networking. Have a great weekend. And as always, find out who you are, chase your passion, and live real. Take care now.